Injuries, injuries, injuries. That was the name of the game during the Chiefs' first padded practice today at training camp in St. Joseph. Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. My name is Harrison Graham, and that's what we'll kick things off here. Here in a little bit, we'll talk about the latest regarding Chris Jones' holdout, plus some other in-practice takeaways, but injury stuff first, as three notable players left today's practice with injury. Tight end Jody Forston, linebacker Drue Tranquill, and defensive end Michael Danna. They all left today. I want to start with Fortson because he's a player we've talked about a couple of times now here on the channel, talking about what I believe is an important training camp for him, because Jody Forston is entering a vital year for me. Had some injuries last year. He's still, transitioning a bit from wide receiver to tight end. He's trying to be a consistent force on this offense, and that word consistency has kind of been the issue, right? And part of that's been he hasn't been able to stay healthy a lot. I mean, he's someone who's been banged up quite a bit. He left today with what they're calling a shoulder injury. He was down for about 5 minutes in pain with that arm. It is being labeled as a shoulder injury, so we'll see. Hopefully it's not a clavicle. I mean, that's probably worst case scenario, right? He's got a broken collarbone. That would set him out 6 to 8 weeks at least. So we'll see what the next level diagnosis ends up being, but they're just labeling it as a shoulder injury. But I've been high on his potential as kind of that red zone threat, big body, tight end type of player, but he just hasn't been able to consistently be on the field, whether it's injury or due to consistency issues. So certainly hoping he gets back soon and is able to start to put it all together, because I think he's got the tools to be a weapon for Patrick Mahomes and for this offense. Hit that subscribe button here on the Chiefs Report, because when news drops, we hit you guys with a video here on the channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe and turn on those notifications. We got you covered on a daily basis for 100% free. Let's go from Jody Forston to Drue Tranquill, who strained his neck, according to Andy Reid today. It's hard to know what that means in terms of severity. Like, is he day to day? Is he week to week? How severe is that? Here's what I do know. They've really liked what Drue Tranquill has brought to the table up to this point. He's someone that I would expect is going to play a lot, assuming he does get healthy and get on the field, because A, he was a high-level starter for the Chargers last year, and B, he chose to sign with Kansas City knowing that Nick Bolton and Willie Gay Jr. are already here, and he was already turning heads here. So I think he was definitely poised to have a big role, and I still think will, assuming this neck strain isn't severe. But anytime you hear that word neck, I mean, it gives you reason for pause, right? I mean, that's something you don't want to mess with if you are the Chiefs and that medical staff. So I certainly think they're going to give this some time, make sure he's good to go. It doesn't seem severe, but anytime it's the back, it's the neck, those are obviously sensitive areas. So you hope that the best case scenario comes out there, it gets healed, and he's ready to rock and roll. Mike Danna, I think this is a big one. Calf strain. Now, there's different severities of calf strains. For example, Joe Burrow strained his calf yesterday, but today we found out he's going to miss several weeks. So, we may not see him until week 1, if not later, for Cincinnati. Glad to see, by the way, that wasn't an Achilles or a more severe injury. I know the Chiefs and the Bengals have this brewing rivalry, but you want the best to play against the best. You want Mahomes and Burrow playing each other hopefully twice this year. So glad to see that he avoided a major injury there. But these calf strains are still nothing to shake your head about. Like, these are injuries that can linger. So I would expect this is more of a week-to-week scenario for Danna. And I think it's significant because I think the defensive line on this Chiefs football team right now is probably the biggest question mark. There's more depth at edge at defensive end than there is on the interior, but it's not like you're loaded there. I mean, you've got George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, who are probably going to start. Danna, I would consider as that third guy. He's now out. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a rookie. Guys like Joshua Kando, B.J. Thompson, that they're in the kind of project mill at this point in time. So, Danna is a guy who I expect to play quite a bit and think that he's going to have a big role on this team. So they're going to have to be careful with this, because what you don't want to do is come back early. And a lot of the time, those calf injuries, can kind of link up with that Achilles. And if you come back too soon, you remember Kevin Durant in the playoffs a few years ago. He had a severe calf strain, came back, and that Achilles popped. So that is not what you want if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, out of these three injuries, which one do you think is the most significant? If you think it's Drue Tranquill with his neck strain, type DT. If you think it's Jody Forston with his shoulder injury, type JF. If you think it's Michael Danna with his calf strain, type MD. I think Fortson is the one that intrigues me the most, but I think the calf with Danna, that could end up being the most significant. So I'm going to type my MD. Let me know which injury you think is most severe. Now, the Chiefs also have triple confirmed with an injury report that linebacker Isaiah Moore is dealing with an injury. He did not practice today. Kadarius Toney, of course, with that knee injury, just had surgery. He did not practice. Tershawn Wharton still recovering from that ACL at defensive tackle. He is still on the PUP list, so he obviously did not practice as well. Speaking of defensive tackles, Chris Jones, what's the latest there? Is he going to report soon? Well, Andy Reid was asked if he's talked to Chris Jones recently. Andy Reid said he does not know when he will show up, and I don't know if I would call this shade, but maybe a bit of a message. He said this as well. I'll direct quote this. Quote, "We're moving fast and furious even though he's not here." Close quote. So he's very much, look, man, come here when you come here, but we're pressing on. And obviously you have to be that way. You want Chris Jones there, obviously. He's the best player on your defense by far, but you can't just mail it in and be like, well, we're screwed without him. And in fact, the first padded practice today, according to all accounts and reports, Chiefs had a stronger day. They had the better day. The offense started out better, but once things settled in, the defense had the stronger day, and things even got a little bit chippy out there, which you kind of like to see that. Andy Reid said fighting's kind of a waste of time, but you expect it in these first couple padded practice. Guys are amped up, ready to hit each other for the first time, so that is to be expected. Travis Kelce got into it with DiCaprio Boodle and Brian Cook a little bit, so that was kind of funny. But as far as Chris Jones goes, I don't really know what to expect at this point. I still am hopeful for a contract before week 1, but we saw Brett Veach trade Tyreek Hill last year. I mean, anything's possible. I think that's different. I think you trade Tyreek Hill, well, you still have Patrick Mahomes, you still have Travis Kelce. You trade Chris Jones, you have Derek Nottie, Keandre Coburn, Tershawn Wharton's on the pup. Like, yeah, I don't know if you're quite as easily replacing Chris Jones just based on what is available around him and just how significant he is to the entire defense. He is the Mahomes of the defense, in my opinion. So I still think you need him there. The good news is he's under contract, and even if you don't get a deal done, sure, he could sit out games. That doesn't really help him, though, because he's 29 years old. If he skips a season, he's going to be 30 next year. He's not going to cash in at the rate he wants to. So I do think he'd be there. Ideally, you get a deal done, though. You don't want him disgruntled. This is a guy who's been a leader for you. He's been a warrior for you, been a big part of 2 Super Bowl championships. He wants to be a Chief and only a Chief. He's on the record saying that. You want to keep that guy happy, especially considering he's earned it with his play on the field. And what I've said over and over again was the best season for any interior defensive lineman last year. He was the best in the NFL, and countless guys around him have gotten paid, like Quentin Williams and Dexter Lawrence and, Daron Payne in Washington, the guy in Tennessee who I'm completely blanking on, Jeffrey Simmons. Lots of guys have gotten paid. He has not, so you understand why he wants to get a new deal. Will Chris Jones get a new contract before week 1? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. Cast your votes in the comments section. A couple other notes from practice. I mentioned the offense started fast. I would say the play of the day for the offense was Patrick Mahomes kind of leaking out to avoid pressure in the pocket and then fired a deep post about 40 yards downfield to Marquez Valdes-Scantling for a touchdown. That was a nice play between those two. Mike Edwards later had an interception, I believe, off Mahomes. I haven't been able to confirm that, but he did have an interception. I think it was off of Mahomes, so you like to see that from the veteran safety. It doesn't concern me that much when Mahomes throws a pick, because he's got 5 years of track record of taking care of the football and being an elite quarterback, but you do like the defense making plays there. I mentioned the chippiness of practice earlier today, and you like that to an extent, right? Like, you want these guys to be juiced up and bring the energy and bring the edge, as long as there's respect, right? I mean, these guys are teammates at the end of the day. You don't want there to be bad blood. Keep it between the lines, and then, pat them on the back after the play, after practice, all that good stuff. So, good stuff for the most part with the Chiefs, but you don't want to see 3 injuries on the first day of padded practice. Drue Tranquill, Jody Forston, Mike Danna, again, the 3 guys going down. We'll keep tabs on that. If there's any major updates, we will hit you guys with the video and keep you guys in the loop. My name is Harrison Graham. I'm signing off here on the Chiefs Report. We will see you guys later. Until then, go Chiefs.